Alrighty, guys. Thank you for tuning in for the end of day webinar today. It's Friday, February 9th, 2018. Going to cover with you guys today's trades and trade signals. One of which we got really good a hold of on TVIX early today. And I'm going to cover some other stuff about how I've been trading during this type of market volatility and just cover some basic stuff about how I've been easing my way into it this week. Because as most of you guys know, especially those of you who've been with me for a year or two, is that the majority of the time I'm focusing on stocks almost exclusively. But this week, the only game in town was futures. There's been just so much crazy volatility in the market that actually takes away a lot. Well, obviously the small cap stocks completely dead this week. And before I talk about the ETF trades, I'll talk a minute about why don't I bother with small caps on a week like this week. And I think BSPM is a great example. A lot of your local pump and dump groups are going to play these, but the reason I'm not interested in it on a daily today is because one, all the volatility and cash flow is in the futures. So TVIX, UVXY, these ETFs are great instruments to trade if you know what you're doing and can play some proper signals versus the SPY. And I'm going to show you how I went about doing that today. But the main thing with small caps is when, as you guys know, I love trading them, but they're only worth trading to me when there is volume and volatility. So when I look at a chart like BSPM and it's up this huge amount here in the morning, and it's only done 700,000 shares of volume, that really turns me off of it because I know that there's likely not enough volume to get a big move out of the stock or a secondary move. And secondly is that when there's this little amount of volume, there's going to be so much slippage on the stop point. And you can see what happened here is everyone sells at the same time, and the stock went from 460 to 420 in 1.5 minutes here, 2 minutes. So it's just too volatile. As you guys know, to me, it matters a lot to make sure that we all can fully understand the trade before we take the trade, understand the risk, and try to avoid things that are easily avoidable, like huge amounts of slippage. It's just not really fair, for a trading group to have the moderator get out, then the rest of the members be selling into the bottoms of these candles. It's totally avoidable, unnecessary, and I did not even want to look at BSPM today, although I do have some thoughts on that for later. For next week, but the volume just wasn't there in the small cap market this week, so shifted all my focus to the futures market, which I haven't really focused on since, well, as you guys know, I've been trading since 2006. I traded through the 2008 market crash, and that was a huge learning experience for me. I was only 2 years into my career at that point, but it was a huge learning experience, and even though this isn't as dramatic as the 2008 collapse, obviously, but this is also a really good learning opportunity for those of you that are looking to broaden your horizons a little bit. And, I'm going to start by saying that by no means am I an expert in futures trading. My trading partner, JB, I would consider him to be an expert. He trades futures day in and day out, and he's very successful at it, and he's excellent at what he does. But for me, my focus has always been on the stocks. So what I did this week, guys, was, as you know, pulled some money out of the market every day this week. But I was trading smaller yesterday and the day before because when you branch out into new territory, and again, a lot of the trade signals that I take are going to be the same as they would be in stocks, but it's important for everybody at any level to, once you break away from your niche and try to trade a different instrument or different market, or new conditions, you should obviously be scaling back, not putting on more risk, but putting on less risk, testing out your ideas. And that's kind of what I found myself doing yesterday and Wednesday. Was during a lot of this volatility, I was testing out some signals that I would use on stocks. I was trading with smaller size and kind of tracking the results, and I was able to pull some cash out of the market each day using those signals. But after spending 2 full days glued to TVIX and SPY, I found a strong enough correlation in my signals and the correlation between SPY and TVIX that I was confident today to make a fairly big trade on if I got a proper signal. So let's talk about quickly about the correlation between the two. So TVIX is a 2 times VIX short term ETN. Typically, in super layman's terms, typically if the SPY is going down, as you can see during the big down moves, the TVIX is moving up. So it kind of trades inverse to the SPY, which can be helpful if the SPY is kind of leading it. They often trade really close together, so it's usually not like by the time SPY breaks down, you can jump in TVIX. What I was finding from watching it the last few days was that I felt like once the SPY had given a signal, if I were to jump in TVIX long, so if the SPY signal is short, which the majority of them have been short as the market's been crashing, it's been too late to buy TVIX. So today I was looking to sort of find some spots where I could preemptively look for where I think SPY is going to break down and where we're going to find a sell signal, and then try to play TVIX on the long side. So the trade I wanted to talk about today was the long trade that I took over the stream and in chat from 11:55. Specifically, if we just zoom in, it was right there. And the thing I liked about this trade, sorry, it's 10:37 a.m. was when I entered right there on this candle right here, and my entry was 11:55, and the stop loss was at 11:40. So just using that last little base there as my exit point. So here was the trade in question: long 55, stop 11:40, so just 15-cent risk. And note the commentary that the SPY needs to break 259.50 to make this trade work. So what I was playing for really was this breakdown on SPY through basically, 259.60 to 50 area right there. So I was playing for that breakdown to fuel a big move up in TVIX. But like I've noticed for the last few days when I was trading this week, I really don't. One thing that you guys will know about my trading is that it's super important to me in my own trading, as it is in my teaching to you, to focus on good risk reward entries. So the better the entry price, the tighter the stop, and the bigger the reward, right? So I didn't really want to be chasing this thing up through 1180, 1190, although in hindsight that would have still worked beautifully. This was truly a ground floor entry based on what I thought looked like a really obvious short signal coming on the SPY. You can see that there was some really big support in this area. You can see this inverted cup forming, and especially my favorite part of this setup was the attempt to break back up over this prior support at 260.50 and then instant rejection and a lower high. So right in that area was where I liked SPY short, anticipating the break of the support and a huge unwind. Okay. So the idea on TVIX was just to play the inverse of that. So 1155 long right here, risking very tight just off that 40 area. And the move that we got was just gigantic versus the risk. So this is what I would call a home run trade. It definitely took, 3 days of intensely studying the charts and the correlations between the two, testing out a few things with smaller size. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because that's the process everybody should go with in their trading, no matter what level you're at. So especially if you're a beginner, the idea is you're not using this market volatility as, okay, well, this is the week I'm going to, put my entire account in one trade and try to get rich. It's really about the process of just figuring out the correlations, planning trades, seeing how they work, journaling the results, watching the patterns, and then sort of adjusting your strategy. So after 12 years of trading, guys, obviously you get faster at adapting to different. So if you're trading, only stocks or only small caps or only large caps or only futures, they trade differently. I mean, they essentially the same patterns play out as they always would, but it is a different game. There was a lot of volatility. And that's one thing I liked about TVIX was, although it's volatile, it's still a very liquid, instrument. So there's not going to be as much slippage. You can get in and out where you need to. It does move fast, but the liquidity is there, unlike something like BSPM today, where there's no volume, no liquidity, and at the drop of a hat, you can be out 40 or 60 cents, right? So the idea on TVIX, long 1155, playing for the breakdown on SPY through 259.60, and it just worked out really, really well. And so again, a couple of days of taking a few in and outs, testing my strategies. I saw a few really good long signals on TVIX yesterday that correlated really well with SPY, and I missed there was only one really good one yesterday on TVIX that was perfect in the morning, and I missed that one, but I didn't use that miss as in a negative way. I just screen capped the chart. I said, if I get a setup like that again that correlates the same way, I'm going to attack it. And after 3 days of watching this, I was ready to hit it with some size today. So this trade pretty much made a few days of my week right here. And the rest of the week was again slower. I was using smaller size, kind of just dabbling in and out, playing with some ideas. And although I'd had a good week overall, today was by far the best day with just this one single trade. As usual, tight risk entry, scaled out along the way, selling all the way up to 1291 was my final exit. Technically speaking, if I'm following my exit strategy, the system that I've laid out for my exits, I would have actually ended up exiting lower. So I think it was a good exit, but typically speaking, I'm just going to want to stick to my system under normal circumstances. But this is one of those moves that was so large that it felt like I just sort of ran out of shares to sell. I was just feeding them to the offer all the way up until they were gone. And then I thought we might get another opportunity on a dip. So I kind of wanted to exit, then sort of recalibrate after a pullback and see if we get another setup. I did throw one idea there, and I'm really not trying to condone scalping because I don't think that it's a good way to go. But I did mention on a pullback to 210, you could probably grab a 30-cent bounce or so. And because it was a huge pullback to a major prior resistance, and it was an obvious place for a bounce. So there was a quick opportunity in there for a trade as well. From there, the TVIX actually set up for another really nice trade over lunch, unfortunately for me, because I actually do take that. I like to trade the morning action. I always trade from pre-market until about 11:30, and then I take just that little chunk from like 11:30 to 1 p.m. off, because typically in normal market conditions it's just going to be choppy. Today's one of those days where you definitely could and almost should stick around just in case any big setups happen, like we did have on TVX, was a secondary move. After a gigantic pullback, we still found support over 12, and there was a really nice spot right in here, and you can see again the correlation with the SPY in that area, which I'll try to pick out right now for you. So it was see right here, where SPY once again sort of, it bounced, hit VWAP, and then we just sort of stabilized a little bit here, failed to break out, very similar as back here where it failed to hold over the new support, and then broke down through the support, signaling another move lower, giving us another move right on that exact candle right there. This one, the break of that support was where the second long on TVIX would be triggered, and then we just get a huge move out of that one. Unfortunately, I did miss this, and it was another very nice move. So those are the two only spots today that I really liked TVIX. I wanted to mention one more thing because I think it's really important. You may have seen this as a possible long opportunity on TVIX or a short opportunity on SPY back here. And I mentioned this on Twitter, and I mentioned it in our chat room, and I was thinking that this would not be a reliable short signal in the market or a long on TVIX because it was just massively extended to the downside at this point. And although it did break, as you can see, it was a huge bear trap. And as you guys know from trading small caps or large cap, whatever it is, even futures in this case, is that when bears get trapped and they squeeze, it often creates the biggest, most volatile moves in the market. As you can see right here, this squeeze was unreal. This move barely pulled back at all. It basically recovered the entire day in one push within about 30 or 40 minutes. So it was a really impressive move. One thing to realize about a move like this is that if you're trading a good system, you're honestly probably not going to catch this move unless you chase it. You shouldn't be chasing, so this is kind of one of those moves that I'm just not going to catch. I catch more obvious moves that are set up in a way that matches my trading system that you guys all know and can learn about through our members portal videos and watching me live trade on the stream every day. But this is one of those moves that I couldn't catch and wouldn't catch and didn't attempt to, but my idea was, the value in it was knowing that this is not a reliable, to me, it wasn't a reliable short signal in the market. So I was not going to take this TVIX long. And it did end up being a huge trap. Obviously, it very well could have kept going lower. But just looking at a bunch of different time frames and looking at some of the hourly chart action, it just felt too extended to me, and I didn't find it a reliable signal, so that's why I didn't trade it. And as you can see with the rebound from that area, so when it broke lows, trapped shorts, and then reclaimed, it created that back here. It created that biggest squeeze of the day, and as a result, TVIX totally rolled over and got crushed. Right? So that was pretty much the extent of my day. I didn't trade any signals late day. I didn't try to get short TVIX. We actually had some platform issues, which is kind of a bummer because there was potentially some short side opportunities on TVIX, or if you want to trade long with the market. I mean, this is a huge move, and a nice rebound from a couple of pretty rough days we had this week. But I guess the point of this webinar, guys, is just to remind you that when you're traveling into unknown territory or unfamiliar territory, start small. Do the same thing that you always do, like the way I teach you guys to develop your system is just practice, take small share size or just trade paper until you see the correlations in the charts, until you have some data to back up your findings. Once you start to get confident, you can start to put some shares on and test your ideas out. But today was a great day, a great example of, where I spent just 2 days, 2 or 3 days watching this very closely, and then I got ready to finally make, a very big trade on it for myself. So I was really happy with the day, guys. I'm actually happy with the whole week overall. I guess the beauty of being a day trader is even during the most, panicky, volatile times in the market, this can often be the best time for us to actually make profits. So, anyways, guys, I hope you had a good day today. Enjoyed the commentary. After I close out this webinar, I'll do a quick look through some watches for Monday morning. And I'll just take a quick peek through the chat room and see if there's any questions I can answer before we wrap this up. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it for today. I actually have really high hopes for next week. I think if this market volatility continues, we should be able to see a lot more great opportunities, potentially through TVIX and UVXY. I'm also looking forward to some volume flowing back into stocks, and I can go back to my usual system and niche. But it's been fun. It's been a good learning experience for a lot of you guys, so I hope you took away a lot from the stream this week. I hope you guys got to tighten up your system and strategy a little bit and got some good takeaways from this week's live trading. All right, guys, so I'll go over the watch list with you now. But until then, have a great weekend, and I'm looking forward to trading with you guys on Monday. Cheers.